Welcome back to the Monday Morning Show. I'm Ken Salle, and today, let's talk jewel robberies. But don't worry, we're not going to hold up any jewelry stores. No, we're talking about a convoluted mystery in which everyone is a suspect. Which I suppose means it's a good time to say that today's show is brought to you by my novel, Last Ditch. Jessup Reeler wanted a normal life, even if he knew he didn't deserve one. The bodies of the dead and violated he left in his wake should have been enough to make it clear how far removed a normal life was from his own. And when he meets his future in-laws for the first time, when he realizes that his future mother-in-law must be his next victim, his obsession compels him to kill and kill again. But what he doesn't realize is that his future in-laws are far more removed from normality than even he. You just can't always tell who the bad guys are. And that was exactly the case in a film I got to see last night for the very first time. A PreCode comedy mystery called Jewel Robbery. Now, before I continue, I suppose I should explain what I mean by PreCode. You see, back in the 1920s, films weren't very stringently regulated. Filmmakers could basically say whatever they liked. And they did. And that was the problem. Because the Puritans in the United States, and just like today, that means there was a whole lot of them, hated to see people, saying whatever they liked. Films portrayed characters with poorly defined morals, loose women who engaged in sexual behavior long before death, dogs and cats living together. Well, the Puritans didn't much care for that. So they got together and established the Hays Code, which said, among other things, that characters had to be good. Good guys had to win. Women had to be upstanding. Blah, blah, blah. It was basically a Republican's paradise. You ever wonder why old movies are often so crappy? So dull and plotting and dim-witted? Hays Code. It was the Hays Code that introduced separate beds for married people, bathrooms without toilets, teenagers without anything. And this kind of behavior didn't just take place back in the early 20th century. These things happen in cycles. Consider the TV show Will and Grace. Though it went off the air in 2006, there's plenty of that show that would never make it on the air today, especially on network TV. Because somewhere in the last decade, we decided as a society that such behavior should be frowned upon. What behavior? Well, people saying whatever they like. Now, jewel robbery is certainly no Will and Grace, but it does stand out as an exceptional example of what could be done in film before the code was enacted. Jewel Robbery just barely slipped in, too, coming out in 1932. It starred William Powell and Kay Francis. William Powell was 40 years old. He was 2 years away from his breakout role in The Thin Man, the film that would make his career. Okay, I may be overstating that a bit. I'm a huge fan of William Powell, and it's The Thin Man that, for me, defines the parts he played. Before The Thin Man, he was okay. After, nothing could stop him. Well, except for, death, of course. Kay Francis isn't the most beautiful actress out there, and in fact, as I watched Jewel Robbery, I thought, why her? Well, I'm not going to tell you why exactly, because that why comes in the last seconds of the film. This movie ends with the kind of twist very few films successfully pull off. Even today, there aren't a whole lot of movies that would even try it. Consider, William Powell is a jewel thief, but not your typical jewel thief. He doesn't go in for violence or bluster. He is very careful, very smart, and very civilized. He takes fists full of diamonds with a smile on his face. Of course, it also helps that he provides his victims with free cigarettes. You can't see it here, but there are quotes on my page around the word cigarettes because they're not cigarettes. They're joints. That's right, Powell's character hands out marijuana cigarettes to his victims, all of whom are only too happy, after a few puffs, to give him anything he wants. Now, that's not the only tool at his disposal, but, tell you what, you tell me when the last time was you saw a movie about a criminal who doped up his victims. That alone might have been enough to inspire Americans to adopt the Hays Code. Kay Francis is one of his victims, but not really. You see, Francis's character married for money, but missed out on any fun. Once Powell steals a couple suitcases of jewels right in front of her, she knows where to go for both. So, we end up with this simple kind of love story about a crook in love with a woman he stole from, and a woman who wants the life of the crook who robbed her. He'll do whatever he can to be with the woman he loves, and she'll do whatever she can to be with all those jewels. All of that leads to a delicious twist that's only surprising because you never expect this kind of thing in an old movie. I was smiling from ear to ear for so long, and I couldn't even watch anything else after I finished Jewel Robbery. I just sat back and relished in the feeling of having seen a movie do something so very right. And now that I've told you all about Jewel Robbery, I suppose you're going to expect to hear how available it is. Sadly, it's not. Not really. I recorded it off of Turner Classic Movies, my thanks to them. So if you have a chance to catch it on TCM, I strongly suggest you do so. You can also rent it off of Amazon or buy it in the Forbidden Hollywood DVD Collection, Volume 4. It is definitely worth your time. That's it for today's show. Until next time, you can find me on kenlasalle.com. Remember, the fate of this world is in all of our hands. Do your best and be just as kind as you can. And I'll see you on the next Monday Morning Show.